Where were you? It is a simple question that is asked time and time again as people recount events that were wonderful or horrible, magical or sorrowful, agonizing or triumphant. In sports, there have been a few of those moments where it felt time stood still, and for tennis, it is no different. So where were you when you heard Monica Seles was stabbed on the court playing the sport she loved? In this video, we detail the top 8 things to know about Monica Seles and the most horrific day in tennis history. Number 8. Early life. Monica Seles was born on December 2nd, 1973, in Yugoslavia to Hungarian parents in Esther and Carolyn. She began playing tennis at age 5 and honed her skills from a young age. In 1985, at the age of 11, she won the Junior Orange Bowl tournament in Miami, Florida, and this caught the attention of tennis coach Nick Bollettieri. In early 1986, Seles and her brother Zoltan moved from Yugoslavia to the United States.
That she's the most unusual, talented young lady that I've ever seen or involved in sports today.
Seles enrolled at the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, where she trained for 2 years and continued to practice until March 1990. 9 months after their arrival at the academy, Seles' mother and father joined her and Zoltan in Florida. By age 14, she played her first amateur tournament, and by age 15, she joined the professional tour full-time in February 1989. In May 1989, she won her first title in Houston by beating the soon-to-retire Chris Evert in the final. The rise was meteoric because a month later, she made it to the semifinals of the French Open in her first Grand Slam. She lost the match to world number 1 Steffi Graf. However, she finished the year ranked number 6 in the world, and the seeds were planted that great things awaited her. Number 7. Seles' dominance. After a slow start to the 1990 season, Seles kicked things into gear by reeling off a jaw-dropping 36-match winning streak. The streak included winning 6 consecutive tournaments, including the Lipton Players Championships, the US Hardcourt Championships, the Eckerd Open, the Italian Open, and the Lufthansa Cup in Berlin, Germany. At Roland Garros, she avenged her loss to Graf in the 1989 semifinal to win the French Open stunningly. Seles saved 4 set points in a first-set tiebreaker, which she won 8-6, and went on to take the match in straight sets. In doing so, she became the youngest ever French Open singles champion at the age of 16 years, 6 months. She also won the 1990 year-end Virginia Slims Championships, defeating Gabriela Sabatini in 5 sets. Yes, you heard right, a 5-set women's match. The first 5-setter since the 1901 US National Championships. In winning, she became the youngest ever to win the season-ending championships. Seles finished the year ranked world number 2 and was just getting started. In 1991, Seles' dominance continued in winning the Australian Open, beating Jana Novotná in the final. After becoming world number 1 in March, Monica went on to defend her French Open title. After missing Wimbledon due to suffering from shin splints, she made a roaring return to the US Open to beat Martina Navratilova in the final.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 1991 Women's US Open champion, Monica Seles.
It cemented her number 1 ranking and as the new darling of tennis. 1992 was an equally dominant year for Monica. Seles successfully defended her titles at the Australian Open, the French Open, and the US Open, but missed out on the Golden Slam when she lost in the final at Wimbledon to Graf. She went on to win the 1993 Australian Open by beating her rival, Graf. So between 1991 and 1993, Monica Seles was 55-1 in Grand Slams, won 8 major titles, 22 titles on tour overall, and reached 33 finals out of 34 tournaments. Yes, in one word, She was dominant. At 19 years old, Monica Seles had the world at her feet. Fun fact, you may be wondering, how did Monica Seles become the champion she now is? She developed her love for the sport from her dad. Naturally, you would think he played or coached tennis before, right? Wrong. Her father was a cartoonist. He had been a physical education major in college and a top triple jumper who knew nothing about tennis. However, Monica's dad coached his two kids by reading a book on the game. He is even credited with helping develop her patented two-handed strokes, which came naturally to her. Yes, Monica's dad was no joke. Get it? Number 6. The horrific attack. On April 30th, 1993, Seles took on Magdalena Maleeva in the quarterfinals of the Citizen Cup in Hamburg, Germany, a warm-up event for the French Open. Seles led Maleeva 6-4, 4-3 when the players took a water break. Then, the unthinkable happened. A moment that shocked the tennis world and beyond and seared its image into the minds of fans watching on that horrific day. At first, it wasn't clear what had happened, at least to those not in the stands directly near the incident. A scream and then crowd murmurs were recorded on the broadcast before cameras cut to a man in the stands restrained by spectators. The camera then shifted to Seles standing and clutching her upper back with her right hand. Seles fell to the ground where she was attended by others. The chair umpire, Stefan Voss, helped by a spectator and Monica's brother Zoltan, was taking care of Seles until the paramedics arrived. Her opponent, Maleeva, held a towel over her face as she looked on with fear and anxiety. Seles was then helped to her feet and taken off the court on a stretcher. A few minutes later, still conscious, Seles was evacuated to the local hospital. Blood could be seen on her white shirt, dripping from her wound. The 8,000 people in the crowd were shocked, and so was the rest of the world when the news spread. Monica Seles' stabbing was all over the TV news. Number 5. Seles recollections and medical treatment. Monica stated her recollection of how the attack unfolded in her 2009 autobiography called Getting a Grip. She stated, quote, "I remember sitting there, toweling off, and then I leaned forward to take a sip of water. Our time was almost up, and my mouth was dry," Seles wrote. "The cup had barely touched my lips when I felt a horrible pain in my back. My head whipped around towards where it hurt, and I saw a man wearing a baseball cap, a sneer across his face. His arms were raised above his head, and his hands were clutching a long knife. He started to lunge at me again. I didn't understand what was happening. Luckily, the blade missed, albeit barely, the spinal cord and didn't damage any vital organs. The 3/4 of an inch wound didn't put the player's life at risk." After a few days in a local hospital, she flew to the US to continue her recovery. The doctors were confident she would recover in 3 months. Number 4. Why he attacked Seles. The attacker turned out to be 38-year-old German Gunter Parche. Was this attack a terrorist incident? Was it a politically motivated attack in the aftermath of Cold War Germany? No. It was a twisted case of a zealous tennis fan taking things to a violent extreme. Parche was an unemployed factory worker who became so obsessed with Steffi Graf that he bought a VHS recorder just to record her matches and watch them all over again. Parche later claimed his intention was only to wound Seles. According to witnesses, he looked deranged. Parche admitted during his confession that he wanted to see the German tennis player return to the #1 world ranking. Seles was standing in her way. This man was just Looney Tunes. Number 3. Lenient verdict. The basis of a justice system in every country is that the punishment should equal the crime. However, Monica Seles was a victim of a horrific crime but did not get justice. Astonishingly, Parche escaped a charge of attempted murder and received only a 2-year suspended sentence and probation for aggravated assault. A later court upheld the verdict, in part because Seles did not want to come back to Hamburg and sit in a courtroom with Parche. Former fellow player Martina Navratilova was incensed at the decision and told ESPN, "I think that got to me more than anything, that there was no kind of punishment." She continued, "The judge was like, oh, he won't do it again, so I'll let him go, so he can really kill someone." It was insane, and so nationality-driven. If someone had done that to Steffi so Monica would win, they'd have thrown away the key. We all agree with Martina. Number 2. The aftermath for Seles. Monica Seles would not play tennis again in 1993 and had dropped to number 8 in the world by the end of the year. The psychological wound proved to be much deeper than the wound itself. Although she was physically ready to play just a few months afterward, it would take her over 2 years before she played on the tour again. But things were never the same. She also learned shortly after the stabbing that her father and lifelong coach was sick with cancer. In the summer of 1995, she won the Toronto Open, but was beaten in the final of the US Open by Steffi Graf in 3 sets. At the start of 1996, aged 22, she won her last Grand Slam tournament at the Australian Open. Seles remained in the top 10 until the end of 2002, but suffered injuries, food disorders, and weight issues that she described in her book. Therefore, she would never lift a Grand Slam trophy again. Monica Seles announced her official retirement in 2008. Number 1. How it changed tennis history. The attack changed the course of tennis history because we were robbed of the opportunity to see the evolving rivalry between Steffi Graf and Monica Seles. With her top rival robbed of her prime and her peak abilities, Graf claimed the number 1 ranking and dominated the circuit with 11 more Grand Slam victories after Seles was stabbed. Graf's 22 major victories now trail only Margaret Court at 24 and Serena Williams, 23, on the all-time list. Graf is one of the sport's greatest champions and rightfully deserves her spot in the annals of tennis. But would she have won 22 Grand Slams were it not for that awful day in Hamburg in 1993? Probably not. Security protocols have gotten better over the years, although fans have run onto the field of play and court in sports. Thankfully, none has been egregious as that awful day in Hamburg. Seles has remained in the public eye, having appeared on Dancing with the Stars and penned both an autobiography and children's book. Still, her every move is haunted by what might have been, and the world will remember where we were on the most horrific day in tennis history. What do you think about Monica Seles' career and this attack? Do you think she would have won more Grand Slams than Steffi Graf if it didn't happen? Let me know in the comments section. Smash the like button and subscribe for more premium sports-related content. Until next time.